Yeah.
7:05
Never a dull
on
moment.
September 10th, 2024. Call the meeting of the Select Board to order. Note this meeting is being televised, streamed, or recorded by Bourne TV. If anyone in the audience is recording or videotaping, they need to acknowledge such at this time. Yes, you are.
I'm Jamie Perkins from the Bourne Enterprise.
Jamie Perkins, thank you.
This is Michael Rouse's replacement on the beat, so.
From now on?
No, not muted. We're on.
Okay. Well, it's good to have you.
Use of flash photography during select board meetings is prohibited. If anyone from the audience needs to access the meeting, they can do so by calling the following conference line, 1-929-205-6099. Zoom meeting ID is 869-5775-5505. The password is all uppercase Bourne, B-O-U-R-N-E. The Zoom chat will not be monitored. Participants who wish to speak must raise the hand icon until the chair asks them to unmute. All items within the meeting agenda are subject to deliberation and votes. I will note that present at the meeting are Peter Meyer, Mary Jane Mastrangelo, Melissa Ferretti, and Anne Marie Sarunian, and Gina Zarovitz is present on Zoom. All votes taken by the Select Board will be roll call votes. A moment of silence to recognize our troops and public safety personnel. Salute to the flag. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Aho. My addition.
Next item is report out from executive session. The select board had an executive session this evening with several items. And the report out is that the select board voted to pursue the purchase of 171 Clay Pond Road for $1.5 million for the Southside Fire Station, and ask the town administrator to prepare an article for the special town meeting to do this, to do that. Reading of the select board vision and mission statements. Who would like to read the vision?
I'll take it.
Anne Marie.
Bourne is a proud community that embraces change while respecting the rich heritage of the town and its villages. It is a municipality based on strong fiscal government with a durable economy that recognizes the rights of all citizens, respects the environment, especially the coastal areas of the community, and the amenities that it affords. Bourne embraces excellent education and offers to citizens a healthy, active lifestyle.
Thank you. And the mission?
Bourne will maximize opportunities for social and economic development while retaining an attractive, sustainable, and secure coastline and environment for the enjoyment of residents and visitors. For responsible and professional leadership and in partnership with others, Bourne will strive to improve the quality of life for all residents living and working in the larger community.
Thank you, Peter. Next is community shout out and recognition. I want to start with an announcement that National Night Out is tomorrow night, September 11th. It is the rescheduled date by the Police Department and Public Safety, so 6 to 8 p.m. at the Buzzards Bay Park, and hope to see everyone there.
Thank you.
Peter.
Yes, three things actually. I want to say good luck with the Bourne Youth Soccer group going forward. They had their first games last weekend behind the middle school, and I went for the first time, and it was amazed to see the coaches and the families and the kids all involved. So it was actually very enlightening. So good luck to them moving forward for this season. Then I went over to the community Kindness for Hearts event at Buzzards Bay Park, and great job by Nicole Mitchell, whose husband is recovering from an emergency procedure days before, and Lauren DeGora and everybody with that, making that event very successful. Great job. It's nice to see that activity over there. And number 3 is a personal attaboy to Michael Rouse, the former full-time reporter here for the Bourne Enterprise. Michael's, before that, was the primary reporter for the school committee before doing this full-time. And Michael works hard to ensure the information is out there for the community to know what's going on. And in today's world where big companies like Gannett are swallowing up local newspapers, the fact that we have a locally owned newspaper that still wants to get the news out there, it's great. I mean, so, because without it, the only other way they're gonna get the news is on social media, on the local residents page, if they subscribe to that, or just word of mouth. So, thank you, Michael, for all he did, and for us here to get the word out over the years in his capacity, and I know he'll be taking a lower role part-time with the paper, and we have a new person in the audience that will be baptism by fire, with all of us. So, best of luck.
Thank you.
I could do a quick one.
Melissa?
I'd like to just do a quick shout out to to Beth Griffin and the Rotary Club and the work that she does with the Bourne Substance Free Coalition. I don't think we say it enough. The work they do is just amazing for the community, and they're very hardworking, and I just wanted to add that today. I know we've got something on our agenda about the peace polls, but she's really is doing some great work in inclusion and diversity, and I just wanted to make sure I shouted that out to her tonight.
Thank you.
And her group, of course.
Okay. I'm going to give one other shout out, and that's to the Centennial Committee for the Ford Fire Department. And they are having a clam boil this Saturday at the Weary Travelers, and I believe tickets are still available if anyone's interested.
Yeah.
Talk to Marty Green or Steve Philbrick or Phil Tara. Public comments on non-agenda items. Is there anyone here signed up for public comment on a non-agenda item? Okay, seeing none, I don't need to read the instructions. Next item is a poll hearing, petition by Verizon New England Inc. and N-Star Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, to relocate pole 460/1 on Summer Street to accommodate new construction. Mr. Topham is here.
Hey, I'm Dave Topham from Sign Engineering. I represent Verizon at these hearings.
Okay, so let me begin by opening the public hearing and putting the notice, the legal notice on record that the petition for the poll hearing at Summer Street has been advertised by the Bourne Select Board. Mr. Topham.
Verizon and Eversource request permission to locate poles, wires, cables, and fixtures, including the necessary anchors, guys, and other such sustaining and protecting fixtures to be owned and used in common by your petitioners along and across the following public ways. Summer Street, locate one joint-owned pole number 460/1 on the westerly side of Summer Street. The new location will be approximately 151 feet south of the center line of Holt Road and will be placed approximately 31 feet south of the current pole's existing location. I did go out and verify the measurements on that tonight. The installation is being requested by Eversource to accommodate new construction at 46 Holt Road. Wherefore, they pray that after due notice and hearing is provided by law, they be granted joint or identical locations for and permission to erect and maintain poles, wires, cables, together with anchors, guys, and other such sustaining and protecting fixtures as they may find necessary. Said poles to be erected substantially in accordance with the plan filed here with marked VZ New England, Inc., Plan Number MA 2024-51, dated August 5th, 2024. Also for permission to lay and maintain underground lateral cables and wires in the above or intersecting public ways for the purpose of making connections with such poles and buildings as each of said petitioners may desire for distributing purposes. Your petitioners agree that space shall be reserved and maintained for the limited purpose of attaching one-way low-voltage fire and police signaling wires owned by the municipality or government entity for public safety purposes only.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
So 46 Holt Road is the property that's being developed.
Yeah.
Correct. It looks like they may be building garages.
Actually, I think those are the houses, right?
Oh, are they?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Just from
yeah, we
seeing
did sewer for
the
them, yeah.
concrete work, it almost
We
looked like
just
a garage
allocated
bay,
the
but
sewer.
Yeah.
the
Garage on the
pole,
bottom and the houses above it.
Yeah.
okay, yeah. The
It's
pole's,
like condos.
pole's right in the
Okay.
way of one of the garage bays, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions from the public? Anyone on Zoom have a question?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Anne Marie to close the public hearing. This is a roll call vote. Peter?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Anne Marie?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
MJ votes yes, 500. The hearing is closed.
Motion to approve the request for the pole change at 46 Holt Road. I don't, 46 Holt Road, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I should do this, do
Yeah.
it just from this.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the petition.
Motion to approve the petition by Verizon
Yeah.
New England Incorporated and NSTAR Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, to relocate pole 46-1 on Summer Street to accommodate new construction.
Second.
Motion by Melissa, second by Anne Marie.
Sorry, Peter.
No, no, that's fine.
Is there is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, it's a roll call vote. Peter?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Anne Marie?
Yes.
Melissa? And MJ votes yes, 500.
Thank you very much.
You're all set.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
Thank you.
much.
I know I find you.
Yeah, I gave awesome directions.
Heads up.
See you later.
Thank you. Next is Blade Leavenworth Memorial Bench request, some of which is in our packet and some of which is in the supplemental packet. Is there someone here to speak to this request?
They were in contact with us today. I don't think they're going to be able to make it tonight.
Okay,
But what I will say is that if the board is inclined to accept the gift and receive the donation, then just like the peace poll, we will have the DPW kind of work out the on-the-ground final details with the family.
okay. The one comment that I'll make, and this is the second memorial bench where the bench has been purchased and engraved before we approved it. And in the prior times when we've approved benches, it gets approved and then the bench that's purchased and the wording is subject to the especially the bench is approved by DPW, so hopefully that in the future, if people call, I mean, we have to adjust this policy anyway.
No, I will say, both of the benches this summer have already, they've already been purchased, and they're kind of, we're accepting them as is.
Right. So does anyone have any questions? Has DPW had a chance to look at the location and say that the location would be fine?
Yes, and they will, they will also, before anything is permanently installed, they'll kind of go out together.
Okay, because I think when we did the other bench, they kind of supervised or actually did kind of the installation.
Yes, no,
so-
we will. The
Okay.
DPW will do the installation.
Okay.
You
So
want-
are
you
there any
want-
questions from the board?
Do you want two separate motions, one to accept the donation and the other one to approve the request?
No, I think it could be one, I think it could be one motion. I think, I think basically we're accepting the donation of the bench to be installed
Under the jurisdiction
under
of
the
the
jurisdiction of DPW.
And then that's my motion.
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Anne Marie. Is there any further discussion on the bench?
I know what this bench means to this family and the loss of the child and how much that kid spent time growing up on that ball field. So it's, it's, if anything we can do to help the family out, and it's just their way of giving back, and I'm all for it.
I have to say that the background was very moving, and the scholarship fund that's been established, and I think that the memorial bench is a great idea, so I
Yes.
am in favor of it
And the
as well.
contributions that this family has made in building the
Yeah.
baseball program in this community and the basketball program.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's that ripple effect, right?
Right,
And it will continue. So
Right.
I think this is a great way to honor that, yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Okay, any comments from the public? Okay, so we have a motion to accept the donation of the memorial bench from the Leavenworth Scholarship Fund to be installed under the jurisdiction of DPW. Roll call vote, Peter,
Yes.
Jean,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
MJ, yes, 500. We're all set. Thank the family for us.
Thank you.
Next is our consent agenda.
A lot on there.
Rescheduled date for National Night Out, September 11th, 2024. Authorize the chair to sign the Peace Pole language agreement. C, reduce the membership of the Cultural Council pursuant to the vote at the May 2024 annual town meeting. D, car wash. Bourne High School soccer boosters request use of Fire Station 4 on September 22nd, 2024, with a rain date of September 29th, 2024. E, Psychic Fair and Craft Show fundraising event at the Community Building Gym on November 9th, 2024, rain date November 16th, 2024, to benefit the Bourne Friends Food Pantry. F, rental fee waiver request for Psychic Fair and Craft Show fundraising event contingent on approval from the Veterans Memorial Community Center trustees. G, authorize the expenditure of Chapter 90 funds under the jurisdiction of the DPW director. H, request from Fire Department Chief Polonzi for $322 from the Fire Department Donation Fund to purchase years of service awards for department personnel. And I declare surplus the list of police department equipment as provided by Chief Easop. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Anne Marie. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none? All in favor? Oh, no,
Aye.
roll call. Peter,
Yes.
Jean,
Yes.
Anne Marie.
Yes.
Melissa.
Yes.
MJ, yes. 500, consent agenda is approved. And this is that was a time saver tonight. You're all set, Mr. Lindberg.
Appreciate the generosity.
10, discussion and possible vote on special event beach cleanup for Bourne High School Seniors Day of Service, September 26, 2024. A, request waive special events policy section 2D2A to allow the beach cleanup on the date of September 26th. And B, request to waive parking permit requirements during the event. Anne Marie Strode, are you willing to speak?
Hi,
I
Mrs.
am willing and
Strode.
able to speak. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, thank you for having me tonight. I appreciate it. As part of our School to Career program at Bourne High School, we are having a spotlight day where we invite the 7th and 8th graders to the high school, and our high school population goes out on career adventures, if you will. Some go to visit colleges, some go to visit workplaces of employment. We have our freshmen going to Camp Burgess. And this year, our seniors are engaging in a day of service. And one of the activities we're proposing is a beach cleanup that was asked for by the students. And we're just trying to ask for permission to do that. We understand that we are outside of the October to May timeframe. The date we are looking for is September 26th. And that's just the day we had scheduled in our school calendar for this event, our school-wide event. So we are asking permission for that, and students may be, in some cases, taking their own vehicles, but maybe in a bus as well, but we are asking for perhaps the parking permits to be waived for that, for those individuals driving themselves. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. For the parking waiver, do you have estimated hours that, I mean, would we waive them for the whole day or for just the hours of the beach cleanup?
Well, our hope is that we could spend the morning cleaning Sagamore Beach. I'm not sure if we would have time. In the application, I said that if we had time, we could go to a second location, but I'm thinking Sagamore Beach might be, a significant area that we could do some cleaning up around the parking areas and also the beach itself. So it would be roughly 9 a.m. to 1, say. So I'm not sure if that's a half day, but that would be considered.
So what I think we can do is, if the board is inclined to approve this, we can work with the school department to identify the hours that there will not be enforcement at which parking lots, because we're not going to necessarily give the waiver based on particular cars. We just will not enforce
Right.
during those
that period of
hours
time
at
for
those
those
locations.
particular
Yeah.
locations. And, that
That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's like a Thursday in September.
Yeah, I
so-
don't
I don't
think
it's
it'll
big
be too bad.
Okay, so, thank you very much. It sounds like a great program. So, we're looking for a motion that would waive the special events policy to allow for the beach cleanup event on September 26, 2024, and request parking permit requirements, waiver of parking permit requirements during the event.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Anne Marie, second by Peter. Is there any further discussion? Comments? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote. Peter?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Anne Marie?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
MJ, yes. 500, you are good to go. Have fun.
Thank you all so much. We appreciate it.
You
Thank
are
you,
welcome,
Mrs.
thank
Strode.
you. Next, public hearing, reorganization of the police department to incorporate emergency management functions and responsibilities.
Thank you. So Chief Ezip and I are here tonight under the charter to talk to you about a reorganization of the emergency management department. As you know, Mr. Noyes retired at the end of last fiscal year. So he retired June 30th of 2024. And since that time, the police chief and the police department have picked up those functions, and they have been doing our emergency management planning and responding as appropriate as things come up. I would like the board to consider making that a permanent change and removing a standalone emergency preparedness department from the town's organizational chart. So right now, we have the emergency preparedness department. It has a very small budget, and Mr. Noyes was a part-time director. I think that worked very well and served the town well because of who was in that position. Trying to fill that position in kind of the landscape that we're working in right now, I don't think we could continue to operate that way and provide responsible emergency planning services. So I'm recommending that we abolish the standalone department and move those functions into the police department under the jurisdiction of the police chief and roll those budget lines into the police department's budget. So the budget and the classification chart would both be changed, showing the deletion of the emergency preparedness department and the increase in the police department. I think in reality, the emergency disasters that municipalities have to respond to are too wide-ranging for a part-time standalone department to kind of wrap their arms around. We have threats coming from all sources all the time. And having this embedded in the police department where it's a normal course of business, allowing for the redundancy of a department that's operating and running and staffed 24 hours a day, every day of the year, is important. It's important that there never be any confusion or miscommunication or a turf battle during a response on who's in charge, whose authority is this. So I think streamlining all of those authorities are important. And I don't want, if we are ever in a situation where we have to respond to a very bad event, I don't want the structure of our organization to make things worse. And I think by putting this under the jurisdiction of the police chief, it will allow for a much more streamlined and clear response. Now, police can't do it by themselves. And I know that the chief has been in close contact with the fire chief, and depending on the emergency, DNR and DPW will also be heavily involved. And this really gives us an opportunity to strengthen all of those relationships across those departments. And this becomes a normal way of operating in response, and we don't have to think about who's going to be calling who and who's going to be doing what. It becomes more of a second nature as we're planning daily for responding to things. So those are my reasons for the request to abolish the emergency preparedness department and consolidate it under the police department. And I'm happy, and if it's all right with the chair, I'd like to ask Chief Esip to provide any comments that he would like to give to the board.
That'd be great, Chief Esip. Before he begins, is this department in the charter? It's not in the charter.
It is not.
Yeah, okay.
No, it's
So
not.
that's-
The police department is.
No, I know the police department is. I just wanted to make sure, because
Yes.
that's where it becomes sticky. So Chief Esip, please.
Thank you again for having me, Chief Esip, for those who know me. I mirror everything that Marlene said. This is something that we worked very well with Charlie in his capacity, and he did phenomenal in that role. Now that we were in a situation where do we continue, do we not? The police department is very capable of covering that from a space-wise, from the abilities of the department, and then the relationships that we have with the other departments too, especially the fire department, DNR, DPW. We're having these conversations already. We're already thinking about this when we have events. We meet pre-event. We meet throughout the event. We have the operations center at our police department. So it makes sense, and we have the capabilities to support it, so.
Thank you. Any comments from the board? Anne Marie?
It seems like a very logical step to take. Now, would the department require, I mean, are there some specific skill sets that some of the department employees, officers or anything, or you yourself are going to need with training?
Yes, so I've actually already started taking some of the emergency director trainings that are out
Okay.
there. MEMA has a professional emergency management director course that they have for different levels for certain number of classes of this. So I'm already pursuing that path. We have members of our department who are graduates of the Mass Maritime and Emergency Management that have emergency management degrees that have some of those specialties that we'll be able to rely on. And like Marlene said with the fire department, I've had these conversations with fire. I'm going to be working very closely with the fire chief in having some things that he's helping us out in his current capacity, or his staff that are very great with a lot of this stuff as well. So,
Okay.
But the MEMA has some guidelines that we will follow. There's other requirements under the law that we'll make sure that we're staying current with.
Okay. I foresee it as a very comprehensive plan, right? Including, I know the schools always have had their plan, but how then does that join in with being a comprehensive plan?
And that's one of the hopes that we have, is to bring everyone back to the table of looking at whatever plans they have individually, looking at it as a town-wide emergency response, and include, especially the table talks and the exercise that we can go through and help organize. We have a great resource with the Maritime, with their students being able to put these things together. I foresee, not immediately tomorrow, but I foresee
No.
this moving in a direction that we'll be able to really support the town.
That's what I mean, I foresee it as being this very well
Yes.
thought out comprehensive plan.
That's the thought
And
that I have
not,
as well.
those little pockets of, this is what we do in this situation.
Right, and that's then through the conversation I've had with Chief Palonzi as well. We have similar mindsets on that and the planning ways. And what they're working on for hazard mitigation, that was already under Charlie, continuing that on, applying for the grants and looking out what else we can do for grant coverage to help offset some costs too.
Great.
Anybody else?
No.
Jean?
Makes a lot of sense.
Motion that we dissolve the emergency preparedness department and consolidate those functions into the Bourne Police Department.
Second. Oh, wait, we're in a public hearing. Did we close the hearing?
No, we didn't have a public hearing.
It's a hearing by the charter, but it's not a statutory hearing.
Oh, okay.
So I think if you do, just ask if anyone
Yeah,
wants to make a comment.
I will ask for comment, but I got into this looking at our hazard mitigation plan and our local emergency planning committee, which I think is still appointed. It hasn't met for a while, but actually has the same, it's not clear like who appoints this local emergency planning committee. And it almost seems like it should be a town administrator advisory committee. It's not under the open meeting law. It doesn't seem to me. So I think it's something that has to be looked at in this whole, who should be on it? What's the function of that committee? What is, and there's this whole structure of local emergency planning responsible organizations. There are 3,000 of them across the United States. I don't think we're one of the 3,000, but where does ours fit in? I'll get to you, Bob. Where does ours fit in that whole concept? And are we concerned with this whole like quorum issue of all these staff people being, I don't expect an answer now, but I think it's all part of the puzzle that we're working on.
Yes.
And I think this is a great move, so.
Just a little bit on the LEPC, local emergency, that has some statutory requirements of what its purpose is, what it's designed for. It does a lot of hazard response, like the reporting of who has hazardous materials is generally through the LEPC. The regional committee handles that right now, but if that were to ever not be handled by the regional, it would fall on the local, which we have certain responsibilities, meeting annually and stuff. And so there's things, I know it's been a while since there was a meeting. Those are things that we're looking to bring back into compliance.
But this description on our webpage doesn't say who appoints this committee.
No, we have.
And I'm concerned about it being an appointed committee by the select board because of the concept of, if you have a select board appointed committee that's all these staff members, you can create a quorum issue that's gonna come up in our other discussion. And so But if the town administrator has a committee to advise the town administrator, I mean, it's a committee that she appoints and has and can fill that. And that seems, it just seemed to strike me. It
is something we will definitely be looking at and updating as we work through these issues. It is ripe for review.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's, doesn't even list DNR. So there you go. Bob Dwyer, did
Both
you
the
have a
town.
comment that you want? You have to come up, Chad.
Got
You have
lots
to
of
come up.
water.
I'm
I was
sorry.
just going to say exactly what the chief said about the statutory requirements, and there's a lot.
Yeah,
of-
there are statutory requirements, but I'm not sure who is responsible for appointing and whether they have to be in a, subject to agendas and minutes of the open meeting law. So that's another question that has to be answered. So, yeah, okay. All right, so, is there any further comment on this question? So we have a motion, I think it was by Peter, a second by Anne Marie, is that correct?
Yes.
To dissolve the emergency management department and consolidate it into the police department. Okay, no further discussion, it's a roll call vote. Peter?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Anne Marie?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
MJ, yes, 500. I think this sounds like a really good plan.
Me too.
Okay. Next article, next item is town meeting articles, motions, and recommendations. A is the budget amendment for the police department salaries associated with the proposed reorganization and body camera implementation.
Thank you. So one thing that I do want to do is go to town meeting in the fall with a supplemental budget for the police department. One, because of this reorganization, and two, because they have managed to fully implement the body camera program, which was a big lift. And, when we talked about that as a capital request, we talked about how once it's kind of operational, there will be operating costs associated with it, managing the data and the public records request and all of the associated tasks that go along with that. So primarily for those two reasons, I would like to amend the department budget at the October town meeting to add $7,500 to the police chief salary line. I would like to add $66,000 to the supervisor's salary line, and that will fund a third lieutenant position for 6 months. So that would be available after January 1 for the police department to bring on a third lieutenant. Both emergency management and body cameras need to be managed by the command staff, and that's what this third lieutenant position allows the chief to do.
What would, other than managing those body cameras and the footage, what other functions would this third lieutenant have?
So this proposal is not specifically that the new lieutenant will be assigned for these particular duties. I'll be looking at all of the duties that our lieutenants have and spreading those out amongst those supervisors that have the appropriate skills and the appropriate needs. So right now I have 2 lieutenants that their administrative responsibilities are well exceed the number of hours that they can put in per week. One of those being, a lot of it is dealt with body cameras, public records requests, not just public records, the court requests that we have to respond to. So one lieutenant will be handling a combination, will be handling body cameras. It may be the same lieutenant that's handling some of the emergency management stuff, or I might have another lieutenant that maybe has some better skills to do that. But there will be spreading out our supervision duties to allow more redundancy between the supervisors when somebody goes on vacation, and also for having these new duties that we'll bring on with EM.
So this will provide the resource, the time in, the hours in the week to take on these tasks and give Brandon the flexibility to kind of move things around depending on the operations that he needs.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, and then,
And we would be moving, so this budget amendment would also be moving the emergency preparedness lines into the police department budget. So that's kind of, you see the emergency preparedness all in the parentheses, so that is going away, and it's being moved into the police department operational lines.
is it gonna
expenses.
be spread out, or is it gonna be in a, like, emergency management or
It
something?
is not going to be a sub-budget. It's not going to be, it's going to be incorporated into the different police department lines that already exist.
So
So,
it'll be, the 23,000 will go into all different kinds of budgets?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Supplies and whatever.
right.
Yeah.
Operational,
Yeah,
whatever.
okay,
yes.
okay. Do you want to talk about the rest of it, or just do that piece of it?
And then it's funded by the final cherry sheet numbers. So it essentially takes, this is able to be funded with the slight excess we had once we
Got the
received-
final cherry sheet?
received the final cherry sheet.
And there's, it seemed to be some additional costs in the assessments and offsets anyway, so this takes the whole budget thing.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions about the budget adjustment for emergency management and the third lieutenant, or other changes? Questions from the public? Zoom? Okay.
So you'll continue to see this as you go through the town meeting
Do you
warrant.
want us to vote it yet, or you just want to present it?
I don't, it's not, you're gonna be seeing one for DPW at your next meeting, so I don't think you need to vote it yet.
Okay.
We could, when you're ready to vote the articles.
Okay.
There'll be other budget adjustments, and we'll vote one.
Yep.
All the budget adjustments
Yep.
together, all right. But this looks good. I think it's a well-thought-out plan, and it seems to be creating some benefits with it throughout the department, so I think that's good.
I'd just like to thank Marlene and the select board for their support on this. This is a big undertaking for all of us, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
It has been a really big undertaking. I will,
I
not
will
on
second,
my
yeah,
part, on
I
his
think-
part.
All right, thank you very much, appreciate it. Okay, and then committee, the other piece was B, committee reports. You wanted to say something about committee reports at town meeting.
Yes, so you will have your standing article on the warrant for committee reports. I want you to think about, again, no votes tonight, but I want you to think about when you're putting together the warrant is if the select board wants to report to town meeting about the CWMP. That's one thing for you to think about. I think because we will have an article funding the acquisition for property for the Southside Fire Station, I don't think you need another report for the Southside Fire Station. I think that report can be
Right.
built into the
Right.
land article, but that's for you to think about and kind of mull over. And it may make sense if the board wishes, I'm happy to request that the ISWIM Building Committee prepare a brief report to the town meeting. So those are the three things that I think may be ready to report at the special town meeting.
I think the Southside Fire Station doesn't need to say the same thing twice. I think that having them be part of the land acquisition article will be more than sufficient. Being your representative to the ISWAM business model work in ISWAM's building committee, I think it would be nice to have Azer as the chair, give a report back, because we just started and we may have some information that will be enlightening for the town meeting as a whole, because that's one of their favorite places to go to in town, so, and they do a lot of good work anyway, so I think it would be good to have them come and make a.
Well, will there be, are we doing some land acquisition articles at the special town meeting for
ISWIM is doing,
Yeah.
ISWIM will, ISWIM will have a capital article for land clearing, and there will be a transfer, there'll be a transfer for the mitigation land. So that may be
You
a.
can work it
Well,
into that.
include it into that.
Yeah,
It probably can, I'm not sure we need an extra.
Okay.
Sometimes, sometimes committee
Yep.
reports, if they come at the end of the meeting and people want to go home, if we've already covered it, yeah.
No,
So
we can merge those.
continue to think about it as,
That's why I wanted to bring it up early, to see how
see
you
that.
want to approach it. But that does make sense. There will be other ISWIM-related articles.
But then both of those can be merged in, and what's the third one?
The
Oh,
CWMP.
I think that's a necessity because, we've been working on it for a while, and I think they should give a report back to the town meeting of where we are at this point.
Well, I think especially if we are planning to have some sort of public, we talked about having early in November, some sort of public meeting, not to do a long presentation of the comprehensive wastewater management plan, but to do a short one and say, we're going to have a public meeting, this, and if you want to find out about it, this is, and I think that's more of that kind of an announcement to get people interested in coming, because that's the biggest challenge, is getting people to come
Yeah,
to
without a
public
doubt.
informational meetings.
I agree.
Okay, moving right along. So my goal is to be done by 8:30, so we can watch the debate tonight. All right then, reconveyance of 90 Adams Street to the town.
So briefly, just to kind of refresh your memory and for Jean's benefit, you did talk about this in May before Jean joined the board, just briefly. So the town meeting, I think it was back in the 50s, but don't quote me on that, conveyed this piece of.
57, I think it
Okay.
was.
Conveyed this piece of property to the Sagamore Booster Club. The town meeting conveyance had a clause that if it was no longer wanted or needed for the club's purposes, that it would be given back to the town. Now, town council has done some analysis and has given us an opinion that that's sufficient for the town to take it back without any further town meeting action if you want to. However, that provision is actually only good for 30 years. So if the town doesn't want to take it back, you can let the Booster Club know that it's theirs to sell. So there's a couple of things to think about. Do you want to take it back or not? And if you do take it back, what are you going to do with it? I don't have any proposed municipal uses for it, and given its location at the bridge approach, it may not be a parcel we want to encourage for a lot of traffic generation.
Well, the state may end up taking it too. We don't know what those properties are gonna be, when they start to do the Sagamore Bridge and the approach roads around it, so that may be, if they're doing work over in that area, the state may end up taking it, possibly.
I don't have it in writing, but I have had a conversation with DOT, and it's not a parcel that they need to take.
Okay.
Now, if the town wants to accept it back and ask the state if they want to accept it, it may have value to them for use in their project, but they don't need it for their right-of-way. So it could very well be that if the town wants to take it back and then give it to the Commonwealth, that could be a high-value public purpose for it. I will say that there is concern by both me and the fire chief that the alarm system is not being maintained anymore. And this is in a neighborhood, there are exposures to other people's homes. So we are reaching the point where we have to make some decisions, and if we do accept it back, if you do accept it back on behalf of the town, we are going to need to allocate some money to secure it or remove the structure. So it's not, it can't stay in its current state for an indefinite period. At some point, we have to put some money into it to disconnect it from the utilities, secure it, make it safe.
I mean, it's a good lot. It was a good building at one time. I know a lot of children went to school there. It was a preschool and Head Start for many years up there. And it's got a big parking lot, so I get that it needs work, but
What are we gonna do with it?
Well, we sat on Hoxie for all those years after we closed, and we finally got rid of it last year. So I don't think we need the liability,
Yeah, we
if
don't
we
either.
take it on, and the other expense, or if we do take it on, I would turn around and flip it over to the state as part of a state mandated public use, as possibly as mitigation, or for use for the construction of the infrastructure over that area, maybe good for state use at some point.
I wouldn't take it unless we had a definitive answer on that.
Yeah,
I don't know if the state wants
Right.
to accept
because
it.
then- Yeah.
well then, it's probably best to deny it, under right of first refusal, we don't accept it, and let them go and let them get rid of it on their own. I don't see any municipal benefit for it if we take it. I think it's just another piece of property that we gotta maintain, and or we may have to tear down, and raise it, and
Is the Sagamore Civic Boosters still in operation? Is it still a viable organization?
I know some
Is it?
members, I know some members that over at the Marconi Club, but I can always reach out to some lawn-standing neighbors in that part of town and see what their wishes are.
There was some question in some of what I read in the background about the building having been added after 1957, and not sure if that was subject to the conveyance. It was very strange. I mean, we were missing a page.
Yeah, Bob Troy was.
There was page one of a memo that was like 5 or 6 pages was kind of missing, but,
So we have determined that the property was conveyed with a building. I don't
Okay.
know how substantially it's changed, but it's not, town council is pretty confident that we do not have the ability to say that that the Booster Club would have to remove the building. We would have to take it back as is.
$1 we
Yeah.
pay them $1, and that's
Yeah.
the conveyance.
Yeah.
That's the conveyance. Is the location of this building such that it could be converted into affordable housing by the housing partnership?
I'm meeting with them tomorrow afternoon, so I can ask them if there's any interest in it. And see, because the trust has some ability to do work, and they have money that they could do it, but the question is it better just to tear it down and put a new house back up based on how old this structure is and what the work would need to be to fix it?
Well, it's the property. I mean, are they interested in the property?
yeah.
Are they interested in the property?
I can ask
Or
them.
not.
We don't need to take action tonight on
No.
this. No,
No.
so
Yeah,
what-
so I think my inclination is, because you're always looking for properties that can be used for affordable housing, right?
Well, then I would ask that the
Just
board
housing,
give me
period.
permission to approach them and see if there's any interest in it as their representative to it.
Is there a motion?
I think for me, it's just like everything's so extractive, and I come from that place where it's like if we can't take something from it or get something from it, we don't want it. That's been the history from 400 years here in the Massachusetts. So for me, it's like it's a property, and I get it. We don't want to sink money into things, but that's just the way I feel. That's how I think. Everything's extractive. We can't get it. We don't want it. If it's not worth anything, it's nothing for
Well,
us.
what would you do with it?
I don't know. Like you said, maybe it would work for housing or something else, because we just give up on things because it's no use to us anymore.
But that's why I'm asking for the board for permission to ask to approach the Affordable Housing Trust on their behalf.
That might be a good option, Peter. That might be a good idea.
I mean, the other thing, I mean, I realize that when we try to sell things, we have to go through
Procurement.
we have to go through a procurement, but like if it's a tax title, we do an auction. I mean, you know, if we took this for $1, then had an auction of it for 150,000, you know, what, I mean,
Might make something.
you know,
Could come to use for some nonprofit or
yeah.
organization of
So
some
I think you
sort.
should, I think, do we have a motion to authorize Peter to ask the Affordable Housing, and they might not be able to give you an answer tomorrow, but
No,
to
but-
bring it to them for a future, authorize Peter
Yeah.
to discuss. And I would like to know from town council, if we were to accept this for $1, can we just turn around and then auction it?
Okay. Yeah.
You know,
Would you?
As another use.
Just add it to the list. Just add it to the list. Just tuck it in one of those 50 Dell computers that we commissioned.
I'm just teasing. We'll look into that.
I mean, I just, because if it's, I mean, it's assessed for like $350,000 or $328,000. And so I think for the town to say we have the right to take this property for $1 and then not try to get something out of it, $250,000 is a lot of money. We could, you know, if we could get $250,000 out of it.
No, but we're looking at all options.
Yeah, so we have a motion by Anne Marie to authorize Peter to discuss whether Housing Partnership is interested in the property. Is there a second?
Sure.
Second by Jean. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Peter,
Yes.
Jean,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
MJ, yes, so 500. And then town administrator can check with town council on what options we would have for easily, without going to RFP and all
For
complicated.
disposal.
Just hiring someone to auction it for us. Yep. Okay. And then we'll have this on a future agenda too, when we hear back. Next is 14, request from the school superintendent for select board members to serve on a capital planning and strategic planning committees. So, and I think I sent you the memo with the dates. Did you got that memo with the dates? Did I not send that? So this is,
Did you send it?
was it in the packet?
No, it was
in an email.
in an email from Dr. Joe to you.
All right.
Yeah.
There's specific dates. Okay, so there's two committees. One is a short-term, like, sort of committee that I'm going to serve on as the chair.
Am I not
But
seeing
the
that?
other one is, no, she didn't send it to everyone, and so it could be my total flaking of things that I didn't know over the weekend.
Cross me
I
off.
will read her emails, her email, once I can find it.
I have it, if you want me to read it.
Yeah, so read the part about the strategic planning committee and the dates that she's got. She's asking for a
Did you see
commitment
it?
for like the fall for strategic planning.
So the email reads comprehensive strategic planning.
Right.
This school year is the final year in our current district strategy plan. The district strategy is rooted in changing instruction and was an outgrowth of the superintendent's entry plan that was based on my report of entry findings presented in July 2021. Even in the aftermath of the pandemic, our teachers and staff have accomplished a great deal in a short period of time. We are now embarking on another comprehensive district planning process that will include both instruction and infrastructure, such as facilities, technology, etc. Rather than being led by me, as is customary in the entry process, we decided to hire the Teaching and Learning Alliance to facilitate the process and conduct all of the focus groups so that we can get a true reading of the thoughts of our stakeholders. We are asking for input from the select board in the following ways. A member or two to sit on our strategic planning steering committee. Members and other elected officials to participate in a focus group and/or provide input on our surveys. The commitment for the strategic planning steering committee is a big ask, but we feel it is important for the town to be at the table for these discussions that will set the course for at least the next 5 years. Meetings will be monthly between the hours of 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. at the central office on the following dates: October 16th, November 13th, December 4th, January 15th, February 26th, March 12th, which, with an additional date if needed. The steering committee will consist of teachers, staff, administrators, students, parents, and community members, so that there is broad representation. Steering committee members must commit to all of the dates and some preparation to review data prior to some meetings.
I am interested in the strategic planning.
So, and when, in a follow-up email, she said 8 to 11 is maybe the first time, but she doesn't know that they'll all be 3-hour meetings. They might start a little bit later at 8:30 and go to 11. But I think they're planning, this is a big undertaking, and so it's quite a commitment. The other committee, there was the long-range capital planning, which is more of just like working on their capital plan, and it's with the budget facilities subcommittee, and Erica and Marlene, myself, and probably a finance committee member, so it's less of a heavy lift, so.
Yep.
So we have until, I mean, the first meeting's not till October 16th, and I apologize for not sending like all the dates and stuff. I really meant to do that. So,
Yeah, I would absolutely have an interest in it. I've done it before.
I definitely have interest.
I've done the strategic plan, I've done the district plan, I've been involved with all the curriculum development, budgeting, everything.
yeah, I mean,
I've done curriculum development, and budgeting. I don't think I have the bandwidth. I don't want to commit and then not be able to be at all the meetings.
it's a big commitment. I mean, that's kind of what I looked at. I mean, and these are, well, there will be public meetings. This is more of, they're structured, these meetings will be structured as advisory to the superintendent. So it's really getting the details down. It's not, these aren't going to be the posted open meeting things that are open to everyone. It's
Right.
really an advisory to the superintendent outside of the open meeting law. And so, and I think that's why she's looking for that kind of big commitment. So, I don't know, Gina, do you have any interest, or are you okay with?
I mean, I am interested, just because I'm late on committees, but if Peter and Anne Marie are interested in
Denise, is that what she said?
experience,
Yeah. We can give you some.
I would forego.
Okay. So is
Yeah.
everyone fine with that? So, someone want to make a motion to designate Anne Marie and Peter as the representatives on the superintendent's long-term strategic planning committee,
So-
comprehensive strategic planning committee?
So move.
Motion by Peter, is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Melissa. Is there any further discussion? Okay, it's a roll call vote. Peter?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes,
Anne Marie?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
MJ? Yes. Okay, 500. I'll forward you guys in writing the dates and what she described so that you have it. All right, next, policy. Second reading on revised charge for SciTech.
Bob.
So I'm gonna have Anne Marie, you know, to kind of talk about the process that's happened
Sorry.
with this.
I get to it.
And I think, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, but there were, the things that in the draft that you sent us that were italics were the things that you guys had sort of recommended that we change. Is that fair?
We'll add.
Yeah, add.
There were a couple additions other than what we previously had in the original draft. And the focus really for the committee is to be on looking at, still gathering data and information with respects to how we can use that information for grant opportunity possibilities, not just with the BEAD grant funding, but also with some other grant opportunities. And there's a lot of them still being facilitated and coming forward. We do have, you know, data with respect to like testing, you know, speed testing and things like that, that we still need to take a deeper dive into, that could also be useful information with respects to grant writing. And then obviously the recommendations for digital equity. So the focus really is on what grants we could possibly have to achieve any of, you know, any type of digital equity plan information and making those recommendations. So that's really the focus of the committee.
So this,
And
we
still
had
keeping-
had a draft out and they gave their response, and I have no problem with what's here as a draft. I think it's fine. I
Yeah.
don't have any issue with that. So, does anybody else have any comments on this proposed second reading draft from this committee?
It's great.
Motion
A
to
lot of
move,
work.
well, actually, motion to waive third reading and move to approval.
Second.
Motion by Peter and second by Melissa to waive third reading and move approval of the revised charge of the SciTech committee. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Do you have anything you want to say, or are you good?
Oh, I just want to recognize, online, we've got Wendy Howland, our clerk, and John Frank. And I got regrets from Brian McCarter, who's traveling, and from Jed Johnson. So, you know, the whole committee was here, at least if not online, they're in spirit.
Spirit. All right, thank you for the recognition, Bob. Okay, this is a roll call vote. Peter?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Anne Marie?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
MJ, yes, 500. Okay. Next is revised charge for the Road Traffic Safety Committee. Who is speaking to this? Do you want to?
Sure.
Okay.
So it was discussed at one of the past Road and Traffic Safety Committees meetings as to the make and the membership of the actual committee, and if a group of staff members who were actually appointed to the committee constituted as a quorum when discussing items that were tasked to evaluate into a deeper, making recommendations and stuff. And so the police chief is one of the members, engineering is another, the DPW director is another, a member of the fire department is also on the committee. And so further evaluation was of the actual membership, definitely it would be required to have posted meetings if staff members are actually on the board. So.
Can I interrupt?
Yes.
Are you saying if they're tasked as a subcommittee to work and come back to the board for something?
Yep.
So does this safety, traffic safety committee task them as a subcommittee to work on things?
Yes, yes. So any of the sign recommendations, anything that literally we're standing on the road and there's a quorum of 3 members, it would have to be posted. So it really,
Because it's a subcommittee.
correct,
That's-
yeah, so it really hinders a lot of spur of the moment, like, in just the brainstorming component and the team effort internally.
Right, where a lot of the work can't be done as a full committee all the time. You need to assign
Or even a
subcommittee work.
subcommittee, like,
Right,
yeah.
subcommittees, you know.
The chief can definitely elaborate on this, so.
Yeah, so I want to talk about this because I went back to the minutes of when this committee was started in 2021. And when this committee started, it was really a staff committee. There was a member of the select board that was non-voting, and then there were going to be 2 members of the public. And so it was basically a staff committee, and it was recommended by a prior town administrator because he had it in another community. So, and it had a rocky start. I mean, you know, it met sometimes, it didn't meet. It never established a chair really of the committee that was like a volunteer chair. It was really kind of staff. Then there were more people that volunteered from the public, and so then they ended up with 4 members of the public on the committee. So, what's recommended here as a possible shift of the committee to have the staff be supporting and have the committee be 5 members of the public doing this evaluation. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that. Because the evaluation that this committee is doing is really the role of the select board. To make decisions about traffic things, to make decisions about signage. And I'm frankly inclined to have this committee be dissolved and have the town administrator work with staff to do this job. Like, if people have a concern about traffic, if they go to the town administrator and says, I have a concern about traffic, what does the town administrator do? She goes to staff and she says, what do we do about this? And so I just envision this as being really operational and really more streamlined and functional if it is a committee that it's reporting to the town administrator as advisory. And unless there's some reason to have this committee reporting to 5 appointed people, why wouldn't the staff just report to the select board? So that's my thought. So I appreciate the thought of changing it, but I'm not sure I like the concept there.
And just to give a little history of where we got on this, we started having conversations when the committee started meeting more regularly about how do we handle those requests that frequently come into the DPW. So even if it's not as a subcommittee, Matt might get a call, I might get a call, but it's something that may come before the Road Traffic Safety Committee. We were concerned as to, would we be in violation if I were to call Matt and Matt were to call Tim, and we wanted to avoid anything there. That's what bore this, that kind of fair as to how that, and where we go from there. We don't want to freeze we don't want to wait 6 months to answer whether somebody needs a traffic sign moved but there are some bigger projects that probably need more of a team approach too.
And it wouldn't cut out the select board. There's still remaining, the way that the charge is written, right, the proposed charge is, it's still an advisory to the select board, so any recommendations would still actually have to come before the select board. You are not designating them, granting them the authority to make traffic sign approvals and approving all of that. That still remains under your jurisdiction, so that you are not taking that authority away from you. This is strictly just an advisory. It's the same exact concept as it is right now. It's just removing the staff off of the actual board membership.
Removing the
That's
possible
all.
violation.
So, but, I mean, it's up to you. this is throwing it out there that we have an issue, and we're asking for your help
and,
to,
and I'm
yes, so.
thinking about,
Yeah.
what is the solution, Peter?
We have,
I think it's time to dissolve the committee and then come back with something different. I mean, it's, you know, you're putting the staff, with the staff in an uncomfortable situation with the, possible the open meeting law issues that have been stated. But, I mean, I know the committee was well-intended, but I just think that we need to just dissolve it and then come back with something different altogether that will work. You know, it's just because eventually it's gonna come back to us and we have to decide on it anyways. So I guess think that dissolving it would be the way to go and then reconstitute it in another way.
Anybody else have thoughts?
what do we,
I'm not familiar with this committee and, you know, the function, well enough. Is this being done anyway at the town level? Like, or as things come in, does it automatically go to this committee because it exists?
So I will say that if a complaint comes into the police department, we're not then obligated to then bring it before the road safety, the committee, before action is taken. But I've found that the committee does serve as a good clearinghouse for a public portal for people to reach out to and share concerns that may not rise to immediate, I need to take an immediate traffic safety issue, but we can talk in a group. So it does form as opposed to, who do I call on a speeding issue? Okay, that's clearly police, but who do I call? Okay, there's a tree that's blocking a stop sign. It's sometimes hard for the public to know who to contact, and it is nice to be able to have, okay, this is your clearinghouse, the road safety committee, and then they will filter it down as needed. That's been my experience in the few years I've been here.
They have to meet to filter it,
They would have to meet to filter it.
so long as the process.
On those issues, yes, and that's we're kind of at a.
So I'm just, I don't know. I mean, what would be the charge then?
If it remains with you and then you take it away, then the public complaints will come here rather than to the road traffic safety committee initially.
You could set up someplace where the road, you could set up we have right now, we have an email, Road Traffic Safety Committee, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that it goes to Road Traffic Safety Committee. Who gets those emails? Who is the filtering job for those emails?
I believe it would be Tim Lyden in engineering.
So you could still have an email and have a staff committee that when an email comes in, it goes to the staff committee that's reports to Marlene.
So I think, if it's staff, there's no committee.
Right.
So I don't need to appoint a committee.
Yeah. I mean, it's, or you could just have a function that's a clearinghouse, a place, you know, if you have a concern about this is where it goes. If you know, all these road traffic safety concerns, I mean, it goes to this, whoever filters it, gets it, and then disseminates. It doesn't have to be a committee. It's just people doing their jobs and communicating as they need to do it. I feel it's become a little too complex. There were talks about, like, we didn't have a process for private roads. Mm-hmm. So there was this private road committee, a private road acceptance committee, and that was kind of like talked about this. There were the other things that were whatever. I mean, we already get the complaints. Like, people call me up and they say, I've got a complaint about this, mm-hmm. and I have to say, well, it has to go to the Road Traffic Safety Committee, instead of saying it has to go to Marlene. Mm-hmm. So if I could just tell people to talk to Marlene or whoever you tell us, that's who it would go to. But I get all kinds of calls from people about speeding on Mashpee Island Road, about this tree, about, those calls come to us, and they're already coming to us, and then we're putting them to road traffic safety. My concern is that there's this, the staff are only supporting now, and we're appointing 5 people who are making the decision as to whether or not road sign changes are gonna come to the Board of Selectmen. So if someone complains about something and staff gets together and they say, we think there should be roadside changes, I think that comes to the select board.
Yeah,
It doesn't
exactly.
come to us currently.
It does.
It does.
They went to the staff went to the Road Traffic Safety Committee and they made all those changes. Katamid Bridge, all the beach signals, all that stuff.
But not everything gets here, because I know I had one request I put in, and I got a response from Liz about the decision. It didn't come to the select board. I
Well, what
never
was the
was able to,
decision?
it was a no to the person, that it was on a private street or something, and
Right,
the
you
sign
don't-
wasn't.
Right, so
So it didn't come to the select board for us to review that.
So the select board doesn't have jurisdiction on private roads. So nothing on a private road would come before you or before the road traffic safety advisory. We can only work within the public
I guess
roads.
it was like a corner, I don't know, it wasn't, whatever it
Well,
was.
there was a change. So there was I think we all got complaints about a road that was where signage was put up where it was supposed to be there and it hadn't been there before, and they used to be able to park in front of their house on the street, and now they couldn't park in front of the house on the street anymore, and that was the answer. Well, you know, we put up signs that were supposed to be there that weren't there, and we corrected something that was an error, so that went to the Road Traffic Safety Committee. We didn't get to make a decision whether we agreed to it or not.
I said, I don't think I remember in my
Yeah.
time, there's something coming to
So-
us from there, so.
So looking at this
Some
charge,
things, but.
right? Work with town staff to examine alternative to existing traffic situations. Does a committee need to do that? Would you rather have a committee do that? Like, I'm looking at these charges, evaluate proposed roadway improvements or changes. Should a committee be doing that, or should that be done by the engineering
Staff.
department or
Should be done by
the
staff.
staff department? Is that,
Do they
I
have,
would like your thoughts.
do they have the capacity to do that, though?
I mean, Marlene, do you feel that this committee is a necessary committee for the operation, for the safety of roadways in the town of Bourne?
So for the safety, no. Really, the question is, do you want to create a structure that provides for a public process besides the select board? So if there's, let's use the no parking zones that you just mentioned, MJ, because I think that's a good example. So those no parking zones are on the books. They're included in the existing traffic rules and orders.
Right.
The signs got knocked down, the signs got covered up by trees, whatever happened. But they're on the books for enforcement. Going through this analysis, we know those orders exist. So we came forward and we said, we're gonna sign these to match the voted orders. Now, if that neighborhood wants those signs removed, staff can't remove them. Only the select board can remove them. So what is the process that you want to, let's say that neighborhood group feels strongly that they want those signs removed. They want to change the traffic rules and orders. Do you want that neighborhood group to come directly to the select board and you receive a professional recommendation from the staff on, yes, the signs can come down, or no, the sign should stay? Or do you want a committee before it gets to you to evaluate that request that's coming up from the public? Is it necessary for the staff to have the committee? No. The staff can advise the select board on the business if the select board's got it on their agenda, independently of any committee. It's whether or not you want to allow that public airing of the issues by a committee before the select board.
I think it gets kicking the can down the road. Eventually, it's gonna end up deciding with this committee to say yes or no if the signs go up or come down. I personally don't think the committee has any benefit at this point. I mean, I think it should be dissolved.
Do you have anything to add?
Our work's going to continue regardless whether this committee.
I'm gonna do my
Like
job.
I said, we're already
Committee
doing the
and
work.
no
It's how the
Gene, poor
information
Gene's gonna lose
flows.
another committee. I'll trade you
Oh,
pedestrian bike path or
Gene.
something, Gene.
All right, I'll give up something for you.
Yeah, we'll get you a committee.
Me too. I got a bunch of
All right,
stuff.
if it's all right with the board, I'll take a comment from John York.
Go ahead, John.
Yes, thank you. I think Marlene asked the question properly. Do you want a committee to hash this out before you and bring you something that's boiled down, or do you want to hash it out yourselves? With Rich on recommendations, again, the staff can make recommendations. The two examples of the parking and the Katomet Railroad underpass, which is too low so trucks run into it, are really good examples. The Katomet underpass has been a problem for 30 years or longer. And from time to time, the citizens would approach the town and nothing ever happened. But once there was this committee, it worked. The committee looked at it, reviewed it. It was a slightly complex problem, so they couldn't give an answer right away, and they had to meet as a committee, hear a little bit more from the public, meet as a committee, hear a little bit more from the public, and they came out with a good solution, which was to put better signs ahead, further down the road, and actually measure the height to see, we paved the road so many times, it's actually lower than the sign used to say. And this, I don't think the select board wants to get involved in all of that, but that was necessary to make this happen. And the committee was great at filling that function.
Well, excuse me, I think you're making an assumption about that. Because I'm not sure how much that committee had to do with that. I thought that was a staff initiative,
Yeah, it was.
that the staff initiative went out and did a comprehensive review of the signs and a comprehensive review of what had to be done. And they did bring it to that committee to review it before it went to the select board. But I'm not sure that there was a lot of public input at that committee level
So,
for that. And I don't know, because I've never gone to one of these meetings.
so for,
I did attend a meeting of the committee where that was on the agenda. It was one of 2 or 3 meetings where that was on the agenda. And it was my perception that at that meeting, a lot got accomplished because the staff had some ideas, but they read some letters that they had received from from residents, and I was there to fill in the blanks or answer questions about those. And that's when at that committee meeting is when they decided, we actually need to go out there and measure the height of this bridge because, we're just going on signs that have been around for a long time. We don't know what that height is. And so it seemed to me like the process, the committee served a function that allowed it to, they knew they were going to meet again the next month, so they could say, okay, this is good, but we want to go back to these people and ask a few questions, or we want to go out and look at it, and then we'll come back next month. And it just worked well in that committee setting. That's just one example. Another example is the parking signs, no parking at some of the beach parking areas and other places around town where there were issues. The problem there was that the problem at the Squatigue Beach was the community kept requesting some kind of signage to tell the people to only park on one side of the road. So the town posted no parking between signs and put them both on one side of the road. The problem was you couldn't see one sign from the other, and there's just a sign at the top of the beachway that says no parking between signs. It's only one sign. It's nothing that's telling you that the whole purpose was to get you to park on one side and not the other. So it's just and that happens sometimes, you make a wrong sign decision, but getting that sorted out took a long, long time, and then when this committee came, it got sorted out. So, I don't know, maybe the selectmen does want to take on all this, but in the past, they didn't want to, and things didn't get done. That's all I'll say. You guys can do what you want with it. That's just my view. Thank you.
I just think that, because under this rearrangement, the staff is gonna be advisory, where the staff is part of the quorum, and that's why a lot of stuff got done, because the staff was in the room, and they had votes and everything else, but I honestly think it's time to dissolve it. And, the staff has other responsibilities, and if this is operational, the staff is gonna be dealing with it anyways. Why make them come to another meeting, when they have better use of their time?
Any other thoughts? Do you want to postpone a decision and think about it till our next meeting?
Yeah, I need to think a little more on it myself.
MJ,
Yeah,
is it all right if Brandon says something?
sure.
Just want to add on to, so Mr. Yook just described two scenarios, but I think we were talking about the underpass and then the overall parking sign, which I think he was talking about a particular location, but the overall project, that was, we started with the police department, then we brought the DPW and Liz, and that was more of a staff side that we then presented to the road safety committee. The underpass, that was one that we did do a lot of discussion at the meeting. There was some great feedback from the community at that as to what's going on there, how it got to the way it is, and then DPW did a lot of the work on measuring and all that other stuff going out there. So kind of handled in two different ways.
So one of the things that I think is that sometimes it's situational. Like, when we were talking about the bike path committee in Katomet, the Katomet residents, having a meeting with residents in that area made more sense than having a standing committee. So if you're dealing with a traffic safety thing that's in a particular area, maybe there's a way to solicit, or, if there's a number of letters that come. I don't want to make a decision on this tonight. I think I need to think about it.
And one that will be coming forward sometime will be the Barlow's Landing. That one is currently before the traffic safety, with a lot of feedback and thoughts from both sides in the community on what to do in Barlow's Landing, and would be one that it would be at the committee level first currently. But how is that going to be handled with all that public input?
That committee, that input needs to be really more at the local level, at the Barlow's Landing, the Pecasset, the people that are dealing with that intersection. And that's the group of people that are divided. I mean, there's the two-way stop sign and there's the four-way stop sign. And, so, it can go to a group of people that are another committee, but that's not gonna,
That's going to be the select board's decision.
yeah, but the input that you need once you get to your plans is more of a local community, Pecasset Village Association meeting, where we get the local people to come in and really understand what's happening and give feedback. So I'm inclined to make this more of a staff position and think about how we do our public engagement on these traffic safety issues to make them happen.
So if you don't feel comfortable making a decision tonight, I'll make a motion to continue this to a future meeting that's set up by the chair.
Right. I think,
Second.
yeah. So motion, continued discussion on the reorg of the roadway traffic. Motion by Peter, second by Melissa. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call. Peter?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Amory?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
MJ, yes. So 500. We'll have another meeting and kind of hone in on our thoughts. Okay.
Right.
Thank you, though, for bringing it up, because I think it's a good discussion to have. And it actually was one of the things that prompted me to look at that local comprehensive, because it's the same thing. I mean, those are a bunch of people that are all staff, and like, how's that? When we have things that are mostly staff, like, how do you get them different? Okay. Town administrators report.
As of the end of August, ISWIM has diverted 8.07 tons of food waste from the landfill. And beginning this fall, the elementary school will also be added to the program. As the board knows, the DPW has finished the baseball field maintenance pilot project and reported their findings to you in August. There is fall ball being played in town, and DPW and Recreation are supporting those efforts to the extent possible. This is a non-competitive, just for fun league, and everyone is clear that the town's maintenance efforts are not expected to match the work we did in the spring. The last day for the splash pad will be September 16th. The Recreation Department is coordinating closely with youth basketball, and we are looking forward to working with their league over the winter. Dredging work will begin tomorrow at the south channel of Bassett's Island. We're excited to be able to make these improvements in partnership with Barnstable County. Boaters should reach out to the Department of Natural Resources and the harbor master if they have any questions. The town clerk's office will be conducting a recount on Thursday, September 12th, of the ballots cast on the September 3rd Republican ballot for the position of Senator of the General Court. We are excited to welcome a number of new staff members to town, including a new custodian, 2 ice swim operators, 2 administrative positions in the building department, and a laborer in the DPW. We also made 3 recent internal promotions, including DPW crew chief, assistant health director, and assistant town planner. The Department of Natural Resources is embarking on a municipal harbor plan with the Shore and Harbor Committee's involvement. There are a number of public workshops coming up later this month, and we encourage everyone to share their thoughts about the future of the town's harbor facilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Minutes of August 13th.
So move. Or motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Melissa. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call. Peter?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Anne Marie?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
MJ, yes. 500. Any reports?
Free on that today.
Last week, Ice Swim Building Committee met. We interviewed the 3 finalists for OPM, and we have bringing 2 of those finalists back for follow-up questions. So that's where that committee stands. Tomorrow's I have the Affordable Housing Trust meeting at 1 o'clock here, so I'll be able to report after that. And I'm from talking to Garrett Saunders recently on another issue. Looks like there will be a bridge meeting probably around mid-October where Anne Marie and I and the town administrator and others will be at.
I did have the dog meeting. I think a lot of their information, I do believe they put it out, but one thing to note is the MC3, they have quite a bit of public events that are being posted, so they do have a website if people want to go on there and check those out. They're all for, out in base, and they all have really good, the award ceremonies coming up, and they have a lot of really good initiatives, so they're looking for participation.
There was a public informational meeting for the pedestrian bike path phase 1 on Monday night. The Zoom meeting ended up getting recorded, but I don't know if it's going to be able to be shown on Bourne Community TV. Correspondence. Jean?
Nothing to report, thank you.
No, your correspondence.
Correspondence.
I'm sorry. Now my ears work. Select Board Correspondence, September 10th, 2024. A, DEP letter, draft decision document, NFRAP, Otis Gun Club. B, DEP letter, drafted ESD for chemicals, fuel spill. C, Upper Cape Technology Regional School Committee nomination papers. D, J. Cody letter regarding Monument Beach pedestrian and auto traffic. E, Xfinity changes to Stars cost. F, a butters notice for Title V upgrade at 149 Phillips Road, Sagamore Beach. G, state request for space to lease. And H, Chapter 91, application for a pier at 354 Circuit Ave, Bourne.
Thank you. Any future addendums related to correspondence or other items for discussion? And you can always, if you have an item, you can always email me and I'll try to add it to the agenda as soon as possible. And our meeting dates, and we did talk about, at our last CWMP workshop, potentially having a public informational meeting about the CWMP after our October 22nd meeting. If we feel like we're ready to go forward with the MIPA filing, and if not, maybe then we'd have like another meeting in December so we could get it filed. We looked at specific filing dates that might work. So that probably would be sometime in early November. And we'll have to figure out that date. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
The sewer commissioners are not meeting next?
No, I was just gonna actually say
September
that before
17th.
we are meeting on the 17th.
Oh.
My procedure was canceled, so I am available. Matt messaged me on Sunday, and we've agreed to keep the 17th for the sewer commission because he has some business that needs to be done.
Okay.
So you're gonna be away, so he thought we were both gonna be
I would
away.
be at like,
Yeah,
it would be 1 AM.
that's all right.
Yeah.
You'll be okay. But I'm gonna be available, so we just decided to keep it because there was some business that needs to be attended to, so worked out.
Okay.
Motion
and
to
then,
adjourn.
yeah. And then the 24th, we know that's that's Otis, everybody knows that, right?
That's a Board of Selectmen, yeah.
Yeah, they're coming to.
Yes.
All right, just
Yeah.
making sure, so.
Yeah.
Give an update.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
they're coming,
it's
yeah, the
it's a
annual.
yearly update,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Motion by Peter, is there a second to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
Oh, there you go.
Give it to
3
Jean.
seconds. Third.
Roll call vote, Peter,
Yes.
Jean,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
MJ, yes, 500.